I was lying on our bedroom floor in my wife's purple wrap dress and red suede heels, my ankle screaming in pain, when I heard her car pull into the driveway. In exactly 30 seconds, Vivian would walk through that front door. In 35 seconds, she'd call my name. And in about 45 seconds, she'd find me like this. Her husband, supposedly the man she thought she knew, sprawled on the hardwood floor wearing her favorite dress and the heels she'd saved 3 months to buy. My ankle was already swelling. I tried to move, tried to drag myself toward the closet, toward my masculine clothes folded neatly on the chair, but the pain shot through my leg like lightning, and I couldn't help the cry that escaped my lips. I heard her key in the lock. Everything I'd built, everything I'd hidden, everything I'd carefully constructed over 6 months of Saturday mornings was about to come crashing down. But what happened next, what my wife did in those first crucial moments when she discovered my deepest secret, would change both of our lives in ways I never could have imagined. Let me tell you how a pair of red suede heels broke my ankle but saved my marriage, my sanity, and ultimately my life. It started 6 months before that terrible, wonderful Saturday. 6 months before the fall, before the hospital, before everything changed. It started with a dress hanging innocently in our shared closet, a simple navy blue sundress that Vivian had worn maybe twice since we'd been married. It was a Saturday morning, like any other Saturday morning in our small apartment in the city. Vivian had kissed me goodbye at 10 o'clock sharp, her canvas tote bag over her shoulder, heading to the farmer's market like she did every single weekend. She loved those Saturday mornings, the fresh produce, the artisan breads, the handmade soaps, the conversations with vendors she'd gotten to know over the months. She'd usually be gone until 2:30 in the afternoon, sometimes even 3 o'clock if she stopped for coffee with her friend Rachel. I had the apartment to myself for 4.5 hours. 4.5 hours that I usually spent watching sports, playing video games, catching up on work emails, doing all the things that a normal 26-year-old husband does when he has a Saturday morning alone. That's what Vivian thought I did anyway. That's what I'd led her to believe for the entire 2 years we'd been married, for the 3 years we'd dated before that. But that particular Saturday, 6 months ago, something shifted inside me. I'd felt it my entire life, if I'm being honest. That pull, that curiosity, that inexplicable draw towards something I'd been taught to suppress, to ignore, to be ashamed of. Growing up, I'd learned very quickly that boys don't touch their mother's dresses. Boys do boy things. Boys play sports. Boys get dirty. Boys are rough, tough, and masculine. So I'd buried it. I'd pushed it down so deep I'd almost convinced myself it wasn't there. Almost. But that Saturday morning, standing in front of our closet, looking at that navy blue sundress, something inside me whispered just once. Just to know. Just to see. My hands were shaking when I reached for it. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. I pulled the dress off its hanger, and the fabric felt like silk in my hands. I held it up against my body, looking at my reflection in the closet mirror, and for a moment, I checked the time. 10:15. Vivian wouldn't be back for over 4 hours. I had time. I pulled off my t-shirt and jeans, standing in our bedroom in just my boxer shorts, feeling more vulnerable than I'd ever felt in my entire life. And then, with trembling fingers, I slipped the dress over my head. It fit perfectly. Then I looked in the mirror. When I saw myself in that dress, something inside me shifted. Something clicked into place that I hadn't even known was out of alignment. I stood there for maybe 20 minutes, just looking at myself, turning slowly, watching how the fabric moved, feeling the softness against my skin. I felt ridiculous and exhilarated and terrified and more alive than I'd felt in years. But when I finally changed back into my jeans and t-shirt, carefully returning the dress to its exact spot in the closet, I felt an ache in my chest that surprised me. An ache of loss, of returning to a costume I'd worn my entire life without realizing it was a costume at all. That should have been the end of it. One moment of curiosity satisfied, one question answered, one door opened, and then firmly closed again. But the next Saturday, when Vivian kissed me goodbye and headed to the farmer's market, I found myself standing in front of the closet again. And the Saturday after that, and the Saturday after that, it became my ritual, my secret tradition. Every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, I'd wave goodbye to my wife, wait exactly 5 minutes to make sure she wasn't coming back for something she'd forgotten, and then I'd transform. I learned to be systematic about it. I'd lay out my masculine clothes on the bedroom chair, easily accessible for a quick change. I'd set an alarm on my phone for 2:15, giving me 15 minutes to change back before Vivian's expected 2:30 return time. I built in buffers, safety nets, contingency plans. I was meticulous. I was careful. I was convinced I had everything under control. For 6 months, my system was foolproof. Every Saturday, I got to be someone else. Someone who felt more real than the person I pretended to be Monday through Friday. Someone who looked back at me from the mirror with eyes that recognized themselves. And every Saturday afternoon, when Vivian came home with her canvas bags full of fresh vegetables and homemade jams, she'd find me on the couch in my jeans and t-shirt, watching a game or scrolling through my phone, the perfect picture of masculine Saturday normalcy. She never suspected a thing, or at least, I thought she never suspected a thing. The red suede heels entered our lives 3 months into my secret Saturdays. Vivian came home one evening, giddy with excitement, carrying a shoebox from an upscale boutique downtown. She'd been saving for months, she told me, setting aside a little money from each paycheck, waiting for these exact heels to go on sale. When she opened the box and showed them to me, I understood why. They were stunning. A deep, rich red suede with a modest 3-inch heel, a delicate ankle strap with a small gold buckle, and a silhouette that was somehow both classic and modern. They were elegant without being flashy, sophisticated without being pretentious. They were, in a word, perfect. Vivian wore them exactly once, to our anniversary dinner at that Italian restaurant we'd been wanting to try. She looked breathtaking that night, in a black dress and those red heels, and I told her so repeatedly throughout the evening. I meant every word. But what I didn't tell her, what I couldn't tell her, was that every time I looked at those heels, I felt a longing so intense it almost frightened me. After that anniversary dinner, Vivian carefully cleaned the heels, stuffed them with tissue paper, returned them to their box, and placed them in the back of our closet. She was saving them, she said, for special occasions. They were too beautiful, too special to waste on everyday wear. For 3 months, I respected that boundary. For 3 months, I resisted the temptation every single Saturday. But temptation, I learned, is a patient thing. It doesn't force itself on you all at once. It whispers. It suggests. It waits for the exact moment when your defenses are down, when your resolve wavers, when you convince yourself that just once won't hurt anyone. That moment came on a Saturday in October, exactly 6 months into my secret tradition. The morning started normally enough. Vivian kissed me goodbye at 10 o'clock, her canvas tote over her shoulder, heading out for her usual Saturday market routine. I gave her my usual casual wave, called out my usual have fun, and waited my usual 5 minutes. But something felt different that morning. There was an energy in the air, a restlessness in my chest. I opened the closet and pulled out one of my regular choices, the purple wrap dress that had become my favorite over the past few months. It was comfortable, it fit better than the others, and the color did something nice for my complexion that I couldn't quite explain but definitely appreciated. I went through my usual routine, stripping down, slipping on the dress, adjusting the wrap, tying it securely at the waist. I moved to Vivian's vanity and started on makeup. Foundation, a touch of blush, some eyeshadow, mascara, nothing dramatic, just enough to feel complete. I'd gotten good at this over the months. What once took me 45 minutes of fumbling and mistakes now took maybe 15 minutes, and the results looked almost natural. I checked my phone, 1:45. I had 30 minutes before I needed to start changing back. Plenty of time to just exist in this version of myself, to walk around our apartment, to feel the dress move as I moved, to catch glimpses of myself in mirrors and windows, and feel that strange sense of rightness that I could never quite put into words. That's when I saw the red shoebox. I'd glanced at it dozens of times over the past months, acknowledged its presence, felt its pull, and always walked away. But that day, that perfect October Saturday, with its golden light and crisp air and inexplicable energy, I didn't walk away. I walked toward it. I pulled the box from the back of the closet, sat down on the edge of our bed, and opened it. The heels looked even more beautiful than I remembered. The red suede seemed to glow in the afternoon light. Just once, a voice whispered in my head. Just for a minute. Just to know what they feel like. You have time. You'll be careful. She'll never know. I looked at my phone again. 1:50. 40 minutes until Vivian's expected return time. 40 minutes minus the 15 minutes I needed to change back completely, clean up any evidence, reset the bedroom to its normal state. 25 minutes to spare. More than enough time to slip on the heels, walk around for a few minutes, take them off, and return them to their box. More than enough time to satisfy this curiosity that had been building for 3 months. More than enough time to finally know what it felt like to wear something so beautiful, so perfect, so complete. I slipped off my everyday flats and picked up the first red heel. My hands were shaking again like they'd shaken 6 months ago when I first reached for that navy sundress. The ankle strap unbuckled easily, and I slid my foot into the heel. It fit perfectly. I buckled the strap, feeling the snug security of it around my ankle, and reached for the second heel. Slide foot in, buckle the strap, and then I was wearing them. I was actually wearing Vivian's prized red suede heels. For a moment, I just sat there on the edge of the bed, looking down at my feet, hardly believing what I was seeing. The heels looked right, they looked like they belonged. In the purple wrap dress and red heels, I looked in the mirror across from our bed and saw someone who felt completely, authentically, impossibly real. I stood up carefully, feeling the height of the heels, the way they changed my posture, the way they made me stand differently, carry myself differently. I took a tentative step forward, then another. The heels clicked softly on our hardwood bedroom floor, a sound I'd heard 1,000 times when Vivian walked through our apartment. But now it was my footsteps making that sound. I walked toward the full-length mirror near our closet, wanting to see the complete picture, wanting to capture this moment in my memory, because I knew I'd never do this again. This was the boundary, the line I'd finally crossed, and after today I'd go back to my regular Saturday routine without the red heels. Just once. Just this once. Just to know. I was about 3 feet from the mirror when the heel of my right shoe caught on the edge of our bedroom rug. Everything slowed down in that moment. I felt the heel catch, felt my ankle start to roll, felt my body's weight shift in the wrong direction. I tried to correct, tried to catch myself, windmilled my arms in a desperate attempt to find balance. But physics doesn't care about desperation. My ankle twisted sharply to the left. There was a sensation of something pulling, something tearing, something fundamentally wrong happening inside my joint. And then I was falling. I fell hard onto our hardwood floor, landing on my left hip and elbow, the impact jarring through my entire body. The pain in my ankle exploded. I'd never experienced pain like that before. It was white-hot and electric, shooting up my leg from my ankle to my knee, and I couldn't help the scream that tore from my throat. A high-pitched, agonized sound that I barely recognized as my own voice. I lay there on the floor, curled on my side, cradling my ankle, feeling tears stream down my face. Tears from the pain, yes, but also tears from shock, from fear, from the sudden and complete destruction of my carefully controlled Saturday tradition. Through the haze of pain, I heard a sound that made my blood turn to ice. A car door closing. In our driveway. Below our apartment window. No. She wasn't supposed to be back yet. It was only... I squinted at the wall clock through my tears. 2:18. Vivian wasn't supposed to be home until 2:30 at the earliest, usually closer to 3. But I heard her footsteps on the stairs leading to our apartment. I heard her humming softly, that unconscious melody she always hummed when she was in a good mood. I heard her key slide into the lock. I tried to move. I tried to drag myself toward the chair where my masculine clothes waited, tried to reach for anything that might help me change quickly, might help me hide the evidence of what I'd been doing. The moment I put any weight on my injured ankle, the pain flared so intensely that black spots appeared in my vision. I cried out again, collapsing back onto the floor. I was still wearing the purple wrap dress. I was still wearing full makeup. I was still wearing one red suede heel, buckled securely around my swollen ankle. The other heel lay a few feet away, near the mirror I'd been walking toward. The front door opened. "Oliver," Vivian's voice called from the entryway, bright and cheerful. "Are you home?" They were out of those tomatoes I wanted, but I found the most amazing. Her voice cut off abruptly. I heard her footsteps stop. She must have seen my shoes, my actual shoes, my masculine sneakers, by the front door where I'd left them that morning. She knew I was home. "Oliver?" she called again, and this time there was a note of concern in her voice. "Where are you?" I opened my mouth to respond, to say something, anything, to warn her or prepare her or I don't know what, but all that came out was another sob of pain as I accidentally moved my ankle again. Her footsteps quickened. She was moving through our apartment now, checking the living room, the kitchen, heading toward the bedroom. I had nowhere to go, no time to hide, no way to explain. I lay there on our bedroom floor in her purple dress and her red heels, my ankle throbbing, my face covered in tears and smudged makeup, waiting for my entire life to end. The bedroom door swung open. Time stopped. Vivian stood in the doorway, her canvas tote still over her shoulder, a paper bag of vegetables in her arms. Her eyes went wide, her mouth opened slightly. She looked at me, really looked at me, taking in the dress, the heels, the makeup, the tears, the twisted ankle, the complete and utter destruction of every lie I'd been living for the past 6 months. For what felt like an eternity but was probably only 3 or 4 seconds, neither of us moved. Neither of us spoke. The silence was so profound I could hear my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. And then Vivian did something I never, in a million years, would have expected. She dropped the canvas tote and the bag of vegetables right there on the bedroom floor. She crossed the room in 3 quick strides, knelt down beside me, and her first words weren't, "What are you doing?" or "Why are you wearing my clothes?" or any of the dozen shocked, angry, confused questions I'd been bracing myself for. Her first words were, "Oliver, are you hurt? Can you move your ankle?" That moment, Vivian kneeling beside me, her hand reaching for my injured ankle, her face filled with concern instead of the disgust I'd been expecting, was the moment everything changed. But I didn't know it yet. In that moment, all I could feel was the throbbing pain in my ankle and the overwhelming terror of what would come next. What happened in the hours that followed? The hospital visit, the questions I couldn't avoid, the conversation I'd been dreading my entire life, would test our marriage in ways I never imagined. But it would also reveal something I never knew about the woman I married, something that would save not just our relationship, but me. I was lying on our bedroom floor in my wife's dress, my secret exposed, my carefully constructed life shattered around me like broken glass. And I had absolutely no idea that this terrible, painful, humiliating moment was actually the beginning of the most honest, authentic, beautiful chapter of my entire life. What Vivian said next, what she did in the minutes and hours that followed, would change everything I thought I knew about love, acceptance, and what it means to truly be seen by another person. Sometimes the moment you think is your ending is actually just the beginning. Part 2 coming soon. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. Part 2 of The Heels That Changed Everything is coming soon, where you'll discover what happened at the hospital, the conversation Vivian and I had that evening, and how a pair of red suede heels became the catalyst for the most honest relationship I could have ever imagined. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss Part 2. And if this story resonated with you, leave a comment below. I read every single one. See you in Part 2.
The Gender Diary exists to light that path with shared stories. Whether you found connection in this narrative, you're on your own journey of gender exploration, or you're here seeking understanding, your subscription fuels our mission. Every subscriber empowers us to keep illuminating these authentic experiences for our community. Kindly drop a comment below. Your voice adds to the tapestry of experiences that makes this space meaningful. Until our next story unfolds.